Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our community conversation regarding the impact of tobacco products on youth and young adults. I'm Sue Reed, and I serve as the Executive Director for Healthy Communities of LaPorte County. At Healthy Communities, we have two programs that we deliver, covering kids and families, that has two licensed navigators, Rosemary Joyner and Rashana Hood, that not only enroll children, individuals, or families that are in need of healthcare coverage, but they also assist our clients with any questions they have regarding their benefits. Rose and Rashana are passionate about working with the members of our community, and I am proud to have them on our team. We also work on tobacco prevention and cessation, which has a strong youth component voice that Rosemary oversees, and is why we are hosting this conversation today. It is my pleasure to introduce Melina Rivera, who serves as our tobacco program coordinator. Melina received her Bachelor of Science degree in Public Health from Indiana University at Bloomington and her Master's in Public Health from San Diego University. During her time in San Diego, she completed a year of service with AmeriCorps Vista and worked for the county on their Community Health Action Team. This is a project that she is most proud of, as she should be, for she planned and implemented farm-to-table workshops for preschool students within the Chula Vista Promise neighborhood and developed an intergenerational cooking and nutritional program. Because of this work, Melina was chosen to present her work at the 2019 Global International Conference, bringing the generations together. When Melina returned to the Midwest, she again served a term with AmeriCorps at Rush University of Chicago. I am proud to have Melina on our team as well. Welcome, Melina.
Thank you, Sue. And hello, everyone. I will be the event facilitator today and also a speaker later on. As the tobacco program coordinator, I lead our tobacco prevention and cessation program here in LaPorte County. This program is funded through a grant from the Indiana Department of Health's Tobacco Prevention and Cessation Commission. Within the grant, there is a tobacco control work plan that outlines activities that will help us reach our goals. Some activities include promoting the Indiana Tobacco Quit Line, implementing tobacco-free grounds policies in workplaces, schools, and multi-unit housing, youth empowerment, and working on implementing a local comprehensive smoke-free air ordinance, to name a few. Another piece to our work plan is educating the community in tobacco-related issues, which is why we are all here today. The purpose of this community conversation is to bring awareness to the impact tobacco products have on our youth, with an emphasis on flavored tobacco products and how the tobacco industry targets our youth and other vulnerable communities with its manipulative marketing tactics. Before we get started with the first agenda item, I would like to announce a few housekeeping items. This event is being recorded in order to share this important conversation with those who could not make it today. For the best viewing experience, we recommend selecting Speaker View from the icon labeled View in the top right-hand corner of your screen and changing it from Grid to Speaker View. All participants are muted, but you will have the ability to send a chat message to the event host and co-hosts. Please sign in by entering your name and organization in the chat box, please. And we encourage audience questions throughout the entire event. So please send your questions via the chat box to the co-host labeled Submit Questions here in the chat drop-down menu. Your questions will be answered at the end of the event. I would now like to introduce our keynote speaker, Danielle Patterson, who will be speaking to us about flavored tobacco products. Danielle currently serves as the Region Team Lead Indiana Government Relations Director for the American Heart Association. As the lead lobbyist, Danielle is responsible for developing the Indiana Prevention Policy Agenda for the American Heart Association and for advocating heart and stroke issues in legislature. Under her direction, the American Heart Association successfully advocated for better nutritional standards in Indiana schools, fitness centers to be equipped with AED and trained staff person, a modest 44-cent increase in tobacco tax, CPR training in schools, complete ordinance in Indianapolis, CPR requirements for 911 operators, and shared use law. Danielle served as chair of the Cardiovascular and Diabetes Initiative of Indiana, the Indiana Healthy Food Access Coalition, and the Indiana Campaign for Smoke. Please join me in welcoming Danielle as she screen shares her slide deck. Participants, you can display a clap reaction emoji by selecting the reactions icon from the panel at the bottom of your screen to welcome Danielle.
Good morning, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. I hope you can hear me. I'm not sure if I have my my daytime voice yet. Sometimes I have that raspiness in the morning, and so I hope you can hear me and I sound okay as I wake up my voice, but I do have something hot here to drink. Two things. I am a very informal person. I use a lot of hand action, so please forgive me in advance. The other thing I would like for you to give me grace on, I have two dogs. I call them the hounds from hell. So if they start to bark, please forgive me. I just can't muzzle them, and they stay near me all day. So you may hear them, okay? So thank you. I'm gonna share my screen. I'm gonna go through this to keep you on time as much as possible. If there's something you really want me to clarify or go back, just interrupt me. But I'm going to just be very conversational. I'm not like one of those formal keynote people. So let's get started. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, let me start the slideshow. And don't fret that you see 24. We're going to get through this. Okay, so let's talk about the truth about flavored tobacco and menthol. I'm going to stop sharing my video. And oh, can you still see the screen? Did I cut that off?
Yes, we can still see it.
Okay, I'm trying to get my screen as clear as possible so I can get through this. All right. Come on, advance. Okay, that's me. So first of all, let's define flavors. The 2009 Family Smoking and Tobacco Prevention Act, which was signed by President Obama, defines flavors as an artificial natural flavor other than tobacco or menthol, or an herb or spice, including strawberry, pineapple, licorice. And these are characterizing flavor of the tobacco product or tobacco smoke. We'll discuss later why this is necessary. Let's define menthol from the beginning as a flavor additive with a minty taste and aroma that is widely used in consumer and medicinal products due to its reported cooling or pain-killing properties. The best way I could define menthol is think about your cough drops, menthol cough drops. It gives that same cooling, soothing taste and flavor. And for those that have never smoked, when you hear about menthol, just go back and think about cough drops. I know a few people that stopped smoking menthol cigarettes, but now they're addicted to cough drops because of that menthol flavor that they like. So why is it an important issue? Why are we focused right now on tobacco and menthol? Because these additives were used to mask the taste and odor of tobacco smoke. It makes it so easy to start smoking, and it makes it harder to quit, especially with menthol. Menthol makes it real harder for people to quit. When you think about that cooling effect in the back of the throat, it reduces the harshness of cigarette smoke and suppresses coughing. So menthol was first added in the 1920s and 30s, but it really became widespread later in the 50s and 60s. So who is using these flavored tobacco products? Our children, our young people. They're using these flavored tobacco products. Most adults don't walk around saying, I want strawberry pop or I want strawberry candy or grape or stuff. It's usually the kids. And so flavors were added to addict children. Let's be very clear about this. In 2019, 69.6% of middle and high school students who currently use tobacco products used at least one flavored tobacco product. And e-cigarettes, it's really the driver of all of this. This is really data heavy. I don't want to get into all of that. But when you think about e-cigarettes were the most commonly used flavored tobacco product, okay? That is something we have to remember. These products that are on our market are on the market to addict our children. Let's be clear about this. Among current tobacco product users, flavored tobacco use was 72.8% among high school students and 59.6% among middle school students. Flavored tobacco products use was highest among non-Hispanic whites compared with other students of other non-Hispanic races, Hispanics and non-Hispanic Blacks. Flavored e-cigarettes are fueling a rapid rise in e-cigarette use among kids. Now, before a lot of the fruity flavors were removed from the market, when you look at in 2020, 82.9% of current youth e-cigarette users reported the use of flavored e-cigarettes. That is significant. And most most youth e-cigarette users use the fruit, mint, menthol, or sweet flavors. And currently on the market right now, the FDA restricted the use of the fruity, but mint and menthol are still available. They left that on the table. We need to go back and get mint and menthol included. So who's using menthols? African Americans. 84.6% of all African American tobacco users use menthol cigarettes. We carry the greatest burden of tobacco-related death of any ethnic group in the United States. And menthol flavored tobacco products are driving this. They're driving the disparities. Menthol use is also highest among Hispanic youth in comparison to Black youth and white youth. And I put this in bold because I really want you to understand why we need to address menthol cigarettes, okay? Hispanic youth have the highest rate of menthol cigarette use compared to white and Black youth. Menthol use among youth tobacco users is highest among Hispanic youth followed by white and Black youth. Understand this, okay? I can't say this enough. And so when you look at these bullet points, this is why we need to address this issue. So among cigarette smokers, menthol cigarette use was more common among 12 to 17-year-olds and 18 to 25-year-olds than among older persons, 30.5% and 34.7%. You know, think about when you were 12. I wasn't using tobacco products at 12, not even at 17. I picked it up in college though, but I wasn't using it at a young age. But young people out here are using these products. And that should scare us. 12 to 17-year-olds are using tobacco. And if this doesn't make you angry, I don't know what will. So this is from the Department of Health, the State Department of Health. This is the 2018 Indiana Youth Tobacco Survey. So if you look at flavored use by type of tobacco currently used, any flavored tobacco product, you'll see in middle school is 53.4%, high school is 64.6%. Look at the e-cigarette usage. Middle school, 62.8% and 64.6% among high school students. Then when you look at menthol, 44.8% middle school and 51.8% in high school. And then you have the other products. They're just as bad. Cigars, chewing, tobacco and snuff, and dip, and hookah, and snus. That is just as bad. But we have to really focus on, if we can reduce the e-cigarettes and the menthol cigarette usage, we can address these other products as well. So, oh, wow, wait a minute, let me go back. So among adult smokers, this is from the 2019 Adult Tobacco Survey. When you look at menthol cigarettes by race and ethnicity, you will see by far African Americans use menthol cigarettes. And we will talk about why in a few moments. But 89.7% of adult smokers use menthol cigarettes among African Americans. Now, when you look at the reasons why our youth are using flavored tobacco, smoking cigarettes, this is from the 2018 Indiana Youth Tobacco Survey. Look at the reasons why, and look at one of the main reasons why our kids are using these products. In high school, 35.1% say because they could get these products in flavors, mint, candy, fruit, or chocolate. And 32.8% of our high school students. Flavors are addicting our young people. And this is why the tobacco company added these additives into their products. They have to addict future users to keep their profit shares up. Make no mistake about that. This is not because people are requesting these products. This is because they're doing this because they need future users to remain relevant. And this is from the industry that have been found to be guilty of racketeering, misleading the public. You know, they have lied about their products. And this is why they have to create this future generation of users because actually tobacco use is going down, but the e-cigarette usage among our youth and whatnot is going up. So let's talk about marketing in the US. And this is why we have a problem with menthol. Oh,
Danielle, 30 seconds, please.
Oh, my 10 minutes will be up? Oh, wow. Okay. Well, let's just say this. The tobacco company wanted to addict a large percentage of the population. Menthol is their biggest driver. And the FDA has decided to take a step toward restricting the use of menthol. It would take a long time for the FDA to get there, okay? But they're taking this step. And the one thing that we need to do is to make our voices heard with the FDA because they can restrict the sale of menthol so that we can start to decline in this tobacco use. So contact the FDA, make sure you know make sure you tell them that you want them to restrict the sale of tobacco and restrict the sale of menthol and other flavors. We have to do this if we want to start decreasing tobacco use among our children.
Thank you so much, Danielle.
10 minutes went really
quick.
fast. Oh my gosh, sorry everyone.
No
Thank you for having me.
I will now give a brief presentation. As I'm pulling out my slide deck, please use this time to submit any questions you have so far to the submit questions here using the chat drop-down menu. All right, my name is Melina Rivera. I am the Tobacco Program Coordinator for Healthy Communities of LaPorte County. And I will be speaking to you today about the tobacco retail landscape here in LaPorte County. So over time, the way tobacco companies market their products has changed. The pictures you see on the left are just a few examples of what tobacco marketing used to look like. Tobacco companies used to be able to use cartoon characters such as Joe Camel, which directly appealed to kids. They also gave away lots of branded gear, such as t-shirts and hats with tobacco company logos. They could also advertise on billboards and sponsor some sporting events. As tobacco advertising has been restricted, tobacco companies have had to adapt and change the way they market their products. Now, instead of billboard sponsorships and branded gear, tobacco companies spend most of their marketing dollars at point of sale. In other words, in stores where tobacco is sold. The pictures on the right give a snapshot of what point of sale tobacco marketing often looks like. So that top picture is the interior and the bottom picture is the exterior advertising. So what is tobacco point of sale marketing? Essentially, it's the marketing of tobacco products to consumers where they purchase tobacco in retail settings, such as convenience stores or gas stations. Point of sale marketing includes price promotions or discounts on tobacco products, in-store tobacco product displays, product placement, and retail advertising. It's also important to keep in mind that this type of marketing is not random. Retailers often contract with tobacco companies that specify where tobacco products have to be placed, at what height, and what proportion of the display needs to be dedicated to particular products. It is a very intentional form of marketing. Tobacco companies often invest heavily in point of sale marketing nationwide, billions of dollars, in fact. In Indiana, tobacco companies are estimated to spend about $293 million marketing their products each year. Why do they spend so much money on point of sale marketing? Because they know it works and their customers will get hooked. So why does point of sale tobacco marketing matter? First, point of sale marketing has been shown to increase the likelihood that youth will start using tobacco and progress to regular tobacco use. Tobacco companies know that if young people don't start using tobacco early, they likely never will. And maintaining a base of young smokers is crucial for sustaining their business. Second, point of sale marketing makes it more difficult for tobacco users to quit. Research has shown that tobacco users exposed to point of sale marketing may experience more tobacco cravings, are more likely to make impulse buys, and less likely to successfully quit. Finally, point of sale marketing disproportionately targets some communities. In particular, this type of marketing often targets communities with a high proportion of low income or minority residents. Often, these groups are already disproportionately impacted by tobacco. So point of sale marketing contributes to disparities in tobacco use and tobacco-related diseases. Now I want to shift and talk specifically about tobacco retail environment here in LaPorte County. When we study the tobacco retail environment, we often talk about density. Density is a measure of how many tobacco retailers there are in a particular location. In this case, we measure density as the number of retailers per 1,000 population. When we look at tobacco retail density by census tract here in LaPorte County, we can see that some areas have a higher density of tobacco retailers than others. Tracts with the lowest retailer density are in blue, and then yellow, orange, and red shades correspond to consecutively higher retail density. Areas with many tobacco retailers are sometimes called tobacco swamps. And there are a few here in LaPorte County. It's important to pay attention to density because research shows that smoking prevalence is higher in areas with higher retail density. and that retailer density tends to be higher in areas with lower median household income. So it's also important to understand what types of point of sale marketing are common among tobacco retailers. To do this, we collected standardized assessments of point of sale marketing in tobacco retailers in LaPorte County. And we were one of the 35 counties statewide where tobacco retailers were randomly selected to be assessed. The assessments were completed using standardized tobacco assessment for retail settings, or STARS, which asks questions about tobacco product availability, price, and promotions, as well as advertising. 115 assessments were completed in LaPorte County in 2020, which couldn't have been done without help from our many community volunteers. If you're interested in helping us next year, please let me know. So we collected data on retail tobacco advertising placed outside of stores. This includes advertising like those in the pictures shown here, such as signs on building walls, in windows, or on gas pumps. This type of advertising is important because people don't even need to go into the tobacco retailer to be exposed to tobacco advertising. In LaPorte County, we saw that about 2/3 of retailers surveyed, or 66%, displayed some form of exterior tobacco ad. In addition to exterior tobacco advertising, we assess products and marketing tactics that specifically target youth. In particular, we assess the availability of flavored tobacco products. Although flavored cigarettes, other than menthol, have been banned in the US, other products such as cigars and cigarillos, smokeless tobacco, and e-cigarettes are available in a wide variety of flavors. Often, these are sweet candy or fruit flavors that have been shown to appeal to youth. These pictures show cigar brands that are popular with youth and available in many flavors. You'll also notice that these products are often cheap. In the pictures here, they are 2 or 4 for 99 cents, and they are often available in brightly colored packaging that may appeal to kids. What we saw from our store audits was that flavored tobacco products were very commonly sold here. Nearly all of the tobacco retailers in LaPorte County, or 98%, sold any flavored tobacco products. So in addition to flavored products, some tobacco marketing tactics, such as the price and placement of tobacco products, also target youth. Youth are very price sensitive, and cheap products tend to appeal to them. Often, tobacco products such as cigars and cigarillos are priced much more cheaply than cigarettes. Tobacco products and tobacco ads may also be placed where they are highly visible and appealing to kids, such as child's eye level or near candy, soda, or toys. More than 1 in 4 retailers in LaPorte County had tobacco ads placed within 3 feet of the floor or at a child's eye level. Additionally, another 1 in 4 tobacco retailers placed tobacco within 12 inches of kid-appealing products. In addition, among retailers that sold cigarillos, cheap cigarillos and single cigarillos were widely available in LaPorte County. So finally, we also collected data on price promotions of tobacco products. Tobacco companies spend more on price promotions than any other type of advertising. They offer price discounts to appeal to consumers and to offset tobacco price increases. Overall, it was quite common for tobacco retailers in LaPorte County to offer price promotions. 62% of tobacco retailers in LaPorte County offered promotions on any tobacco products. So now that we know a little bit more about point of sale marketing, what can be done about it? In Indiana, there is preemption on regulating tobacco retail at the local level. That means that only the State General Assembly can regulate the sale, distribution, and display of tobacco products, and local governments cannot enact their own regulations on how tobacco is sold, distributed, or displayed, unfortunately. But that does not mean that nothing can be done. The first step toward changing any policy is building awareness and support, and that is where we need your help. You can help raise awareness on point of sale tobacco marketing by sharing this information with others in our community. You can also join our coalition if you want to be involved in a more organized way. And finally, You can always partner with others in our community to help build healthier environments where we live, learn, work, and play. Many voices are stronger than one. So thank you, everyone, for your attention. Please submit your questions to the co-host labeled "Submit Questions" here in the chat box. I'm going to change my screen here. All right. And I would now like to introduce the moderator for our panel session, Mary Wellnitz. Mary earned her Master of Business Administration from the University of Notre Dame and Bachelor of Arts from Purdue University. Mary is a well-known community leader right here in LaPorte County. She began her career with NIPSCO Industries before serving as the Director of Strategic Planning and Marketing for LaPorte Regional Health System. Mary is one of the two founders and the president of Figment Group Incorporated. She has consulted for many nonprofit and for-profit organizations and actively served on over 15 nonprofit boards. Mary currently serves on the board of the LaPorte Economic Advancement Partnership, LEAP, and she chairs their Workforce Task Force. She has been honored with the National Athena Award and has been inducted in the Northwest Indiana Society for Innovators. Mary is currently the Special Projects Manager at Healthcare Foundation of LaPorte County, working on several health-related initiatives, including youth prevention projects. Please join me in welcoming Mary by displaying a clap reaction emoji by selecting the reactions icon from the panel at the bottom of your screen.
Thank you, Melina. Good morning, everyone. How is everyone today? I hope everybody is well. Thank you for the claps. That's wonderful. Thank you so much for investing your time this morning. I know how important this critical issue is to everyone. So thank you for your time. My name is Mary Wellnitz, and I'm going to serve as the panel moderator. We are all concerned about the impact of tobacco products on our youth and young adults. Today, we have an amazing panel of experts that will share with you their insights, experiences, and what works when it comes to tobacco cessation and prevention. We will also hear from a young adult whose life changed forever due to vaping. Here's how we're going to spend our next 30 minutes together. I will briefly introduce each of the panelists. I'll kick off the conversation with a few questions that will draw out some high-level themes that we should be thinking about and discussing to move to impact. I'll dig a little deeper by asking for concrete examples of maybe some evidence-based programs currently available for smoking cessation and treatment, and our panel's everyday experiences, and that's how we learn. Please remember to enter your questions in the panel in the chat. Do not forget. Let me first introduce a friend of mine and colleague, Christine Rosenbaum. She earned her bachelor's degree in English from the University of Northern Iowa and a master's degree in teaching from the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater. In 2001, she began her career as an English teacher for at-risk students at LaPorte High School. Christine went on to pursue a master's degree in clinical mental health counseling and a graduate certificate in addictions counseling from Purdue University Northwest. Additionally, she is a nationally certified counselor, certified grief counselor, and a QPR, I had to look this up, question, persuade, refer, suicide prevention trainer, and a recipient of the 2018 Educators Award presented by the Indiana Suicide Prevention Network. In 2014, she started, she has a lot of free time, Slicer Support Services to foster the well-being of students, focusing on education and prevention. In 2019, Christine was awarded Health Ambassador of the Year by Healthy Communities of LaPorte County. Today, you will find Christine at the LaPorte High School and Kessling campuses, where she serves as a mental health counselor and prevention educator, providing resources for students, staff, and parents. Welcome, Christine. Next On the panel is Kelly Oliver. She is the lung nurse navigator from Franciscan Health, Michigan City. She has a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Southern Illinois University, Edwardsville. And for much of her 14-year nursing career, she worked as a level 3 NICU nurse, moved on to oncology about 3 years ago. She is a veteran with 6 years as Air Force nurse and officer. Today, she works with lung cancer patients and lung nodule patients who are monitored closely with frequent follow-up. She also counsels her lung patients on smoking cessation to help reduce the risk of cancer and other negative effects on their health. Welcome, Kelly, and thank you for your service. Vicki Overmeyer is next on our board, or our panel, National Board Certification as a Family Nurse Practitioner, and a Bachelor of Science in Nursing from Indiana University, an MSN and FNP degree from Valparaiso University. For 16 years, my friend Vicki has worked in the ICU and ER at a small rural hospital. For the last 18 years, where I got to know her, she worked closely with the youth at the Open Door Clinic at Michigan City High School. Vicki works very well with teenagers and is dedicated to providing quality healthcare and education to ensure they develop a healthy lifestyle, graduate, and are successful in life. Please welcome Vicki to our panel. And finally, our young man, Daniel Ament. He's a college freshman from Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan. He's president of Fight for Wellness and a double lung transplant recipient, Daniel's story begins in September 2019 when he becomes very ill due to vaping at the age of 16. After spending 20 days on life support with 10% likelihood of living, he faced imminent death prior to receiving a double lung transplant in October of 2019. Today, Daniel is committed to sharing his story publicly and launching his not-for-profit organization, Fight for Wellness. His organization seeks to encourage young people to live a healthier and happier lifestyle and improve mental wellness. Additionally, he provides alternatives for coping with the pressures of being a teen void of substances. Please welcome Daniel to our panel. Welcome, everyone. How exciting. Let's begin with a few statistics. According to 2021 Indiana Youth Survey that we did locally here in LaPorte, the mean age of first-time use of vaping products by LaPorte County students is 12 years old. Cigarettes, it's 10 years old. The data also shows that the top 3 substances used significantly during the past 30 days by students grades 7 through 12 include number 1, alcohol, number 2, vapor products, and number 3, marijuana. With that in mind, panelists, I want to ask you a question. In your role, now that you've seen tobacco products, how have you seen tobacco products impact youth? Let's begin with Vicki, and then we'll go to Christine, as they both deal primarily with students. Vicki?
Thank you, Mary. One of the ways that I have seen the tobacco use with the youth that I'm working with is it increases their self-esteem and they feel more accepted by their peers. They also feel that they can quit anytime they want to. And they think that they won't be affected by the bad side effects from the nicotine, like cancer, COPD, emphysema, because once again, they can quit anytime that they want to, and they can reverse these changes. And they also really, really believe that vaping and hookah smoke is actually safe. Now, we know that the adolescent brain doesn't fully develop until the age of 25, and nicotine actually changes the brain cell activity. Once it's changed, it cannot be repaired. And we've talked about addiction. This plays a huge part in the addiction process, and it can increase their risk of addiction to other substances. Now, in my research, teenagers have been shown to become more addicted to nicotine at a much lower consumption rate than adults. They're saying even before they're smoking 2 cigarettes or even vaping twice a day, they could become addicted. And like you said, most of my patients that smoke or vape had actually started between the ages of 10 and 13. Unfortunately, most of my patients that are vaping now are no longer just vaping nicotine. Most of them are doing marijuana. And most of our students that are vaping or smoking cigarettes also have other emotional issues. And then the nicotine will exacerbate those issues. So we assess all of our patients that we see, and even ones we don't see, who's ever registered with us. We do a risk screening to see their tobacco use every year and to track that. And those that are vaping, or smoking, we work with getting them to quit or work at risk reduction, and we educate them about the dangers of tobacco.
Thank you, Vicki. Let's go to Christine.
Thank you, Mary. Tobacco, no question, impacts youth mental health and their behavioral health in many ways. For example, research shows us that tobacco increases anxiety and stress. And that's a very common complaint that I hear from students. Oftentimes, the students will tell me they use tobacco products as a way of relaxing. And consequently, they continue to use because they have this belief that tobacco is going to reduce their anxiety and stress. And in reality, these students are doing more damage to their well-being. As Vicki just talked about, a youth's brain is still developing in their 20s. And unfortunately, tobacco leads to changes in the young developing brain. We see impulsivity, mood disorders, depression, suicidal ideation. And if you look at our state data, Indiana has some of the highest rates for teens, even considering suicide. And I can tell you from my experiences at Kessling in the high school, yes, we have students that are thinking of suicide. From my experience, it's typical for students that use tobacco products to have concerns with school attendance, school behavior, and academics. And one of the things that I'm noticing is our users are getting younger and younger. It used to be more, I was just dealing with this at the high school level, and I am seeing a lot of it at the middle school level. What we're doing in our school corporation is we're trying to take a more proactive approach in educating students about the negative effects of tobacco and making healthy choices through a social emotional curriculum. So due to a Partners in Prevention grant through the Healthcare Foundation, students in K through 8 are going through the second step curriculum, and our high school students are learning BOTFIN skills in their health classes.
Thank you, Christine. Appreciate that. So it sounds like, just to summarize here, that the marketing that the tobacco companies are using, as Melina spoke about, as well as Danielle, is targeting the younger folks, and the marketing is effective, unfortunately. I'd love to hear from Daniel, but my understanding is that Jamie Turnbull is going to be joining us instead of Daniel. Jamie, can you briefly introduce yourself? And what I wanted to ask you and Daniel is if you could share Daniel's personal experience with vaping, and also what do you think attracts youth to vaping?
I appreciate you having me on, and I apologize that Daniel is not with us on the call. I'm hoping that he is still going to be able to join us. I have known Daniel since he was in 6th grade. He was one of my daughter's best friends. He was one of the kids that always had the attitude of a healthy life is the best life and stay away from the bad things like vaping and drinking. And ran into a group of kids that introduced him to that. And he still tried for many years being an athlete to kind of fight it off. The reason why I got so involved with Daniel and his organization is I got the call when Daniel was in the hospital, and we were told that Daniel had some sort of an infection, but nobody knew. And Daniel had gone as a athlete, varsity athlete, 4.0 student, all through his first 2 years of school, and then had an injury. And that summer, he fell into a group of kids that were trying things that he had never done before. He has a twin brother that had battled vaping his entire 4 years of high school. And unfortunately, Daniel, in his just trying it for several months and not really being an avid user, ended up with an illness that was something nobody expected, hospitalized within days and on life support. And I found myself becoming a caregiver for his family and at the hospital every day while waiting to see if he was a candidate for a lung transplant. So fast forward to today, I continue to be a mentor for Daniel and his efforts in Fight for Wellness. And some days Daniel has such medical issues that he doesn't have the ability to get on calls. And last week he was on the call with the U.S. Surgeon General with the Truth Initiative and the Atlantic Festival. And it took every bit of his energy to get on that call, to get prepared for that. And some days he has days that I pop in and sit in for him. So I've been a co-founder of Fight for Wellness. But what I will tell you is the doctor that treated Daniel, there were actually 3 different hospitals that saved Daniel's life, had never seen anything like it. And Daniel was not a long time user of nicotine. He did not have the history of all of his friends. He had the peer pressure for many years, but he didn't have the history. So for him, waking up one day after being on life support and being told with a trach that you've got a new pair of lungs, and not being able to speak and having a doctor explain to you that you have new lungs because of vaping, he couldn't believe it. There was no chance that with all of his friends that had been using for so long, and he had held off trying it for so long, that he was in this situation. He just couldn't believe it. So once he could speak and talk to the doctors and understand what happened, now he has had a nearly 2-year journey. He went down to 99 pounds, lost all of his muscle weight, was unable to hold his phone, feed himself, had to use how to use utensils again, all the things that you would never want to have happen to a 17-year-old. He went into the hospital as a 16-year-old and celebrated his 17th birthday in the transplant unit. And
Jamie, I have another question. That's a good point that you made about, it was a short time that he was vaping. So my question is, why did the harmful chemicals found in vaping, and there are 4 of them, impact him differently than the friends that were already vaping much longer than him?
Yes, and I would say friends that would be vaping the same device, because he didn't own a vape. He would just, when you're at a party and they're passing it around, he didn't have one in his home. So this wasn't something that he had unique to him. It was something other kids. What he has been told is there's no medical explanation, and that something with his biological makeup, something decimated his lungs. And when we say decimated his lungs, the 30-year surgeon had never seen lungs the way they were completely ruined. And seeing the x-rays, the before and after, is just remarkable. So they don't know what it was with his body that made him react like that. And he went to school the first day, hadn't vaped for 4 days, and within 24 hours, he lost all of his memory as soon as he got into the ER.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Jamie. I'll come back to you with a follow-up question regarding the not-for-profit. I'd like to
Yes.
move to Kelly. Kelly, welcome, Kelly. What are the long-term physical effects of tobacco use? Now let's move to adulthood.
So as the lung nurse navigator in Franciscan Health, Michigan City, and I'm at the Cancer Center, obviously most of my patients I see are related to lung cancer. Lung cancer is the leading cause of cancer death, and smoking is the #1 risk factor, and it's responsible for 87% of lung cancers. Mortality after 5 years of being diagnosed with lung cancer is actually less than 20%. And what people don't realize too is not only can cigarette smoking cause lung cancer, but it's responsible for over 12 other types of cancer, colon cancer, head and neck cancer, stomach cancer, many other cancers, because those carcinogens and toxins are going into your body, and it's not just staying in your lungs, but it's circulating throughout your body and all of your cells and organs. So even if you have lung cancer or one type of cancer, if you continue to smoke, you are more likely to get a second type of primary cancer also. And of course, with my lung nodule patients, now these are patients with, quote, benign nodules, but they're being watched because these nodules can obviously mutate and turn into cancer masses or lesions. So in those patients, and even my lung cancer patients, I see a lot of COPD, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which is an obstructive lung disease that makes it very difficult to breathe, causes a lot of damage to the lungs, and 80% of COPD is caused by cigarette smoking, and it is the 4th leading cause of death in the United States. And then asthma, of course, 25 million Americans have asthma, and cigarette smoking can actually trigger asthma attacks and make it worse. Heart disease is another one that we see in all of our patients. That's not just lung related, but heart disease. It constricts the blood vessels, which constricts blood flow to the heart. And it's actually the #1 cause of death in the United States. Stroke is, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, so there are a lot of co-occurring illnesses that you're seeing with your patients that have the lung cancer or the lung nodules.
Yes.
Can I ask what's in general speaking, what's the incidence of vaping or smokeless tobaccos or cigars or pipes in your patients, or is it primarily cigarettes?
Yeah, it's primarily cigarettes. I think because it is an older generation, that's being affected by a lot of cancers now. They've been smoking usually since their adolescence, but vaping wasn't really a thing.
Excuse me, Mary, there's 8 minutes left.
Thank you.
Most of them don't start in adulthood vaping, but I do have some that, are like intermittent cigar smokers, but it's basically cigarette smokers.
Very good. Thank you. And I have one other question for you. On the medical forefront, what medical advances have occurred to save more lives with lung cancer? Is there anything that you're doing there at Franciscan to lengthen someone's life with lung cancer?
Basically, the NCCN guidelines for treating lung cancer is changing constantly. We do have a research coordinator here who, if there's trials, we can put them on. That's a part of our program, is doing more research just to find out how we can prolong lives. We do check tumor cells usually for genetic mutations, which they can be put on a different kind of treatment or an oral chemo pill, which a lot of times will prolong their lives with lung cancer. But unfortunately, most of our lung cancer patients, it's hard to prolong their lives. I mean, treatments are ever changing, but there's not a whole lot right now that we're doing. We do have a screening program, which if lung cancer is caught early enough through our screening program, it's more an early stage 1 or 2, which obviously the earlier the stage, the longer your life is going to be, your mortality rate. So our screening program has actually helped catch quite a few lung cancers at very early stages.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. I'd like to move back to Christine and ask her, what types of programming or resources do you offer students that are struggling with tobacco use and any mental behavioral health concerns?
Okay, thank you, Mary. So when students in our school corporation have a tobacco violation, for example, with vaping. We take a psychoeducational approach rather than a punitive approach, such as suspension. So we have students complete a program called Vape Educate. It is online, and they can learn about the effects of vaping, how vaping is marketed to young people, along with the addiction. And I then also meet with their parents of the students that have these violations. And it's not a disciplinary meeting, rather it's a meeting how we can better collaborate, the school and the family, to help the students' medical, mental, physical health of the student. We provide information and resources to the parents. A lot of information comes from Partnership to End Addiction. We also provide information about the Indiana Quit Line, which is a fabulous resource. It's free, it's confidential, it's available to anybody seeking assistance trying to break their tobacco habit. The Quit Line can be reached through their website or by calling 1-800-QUIT-NOW. We're finding these parent meetings have been successful this school year because students are receiving assistance, parents are receiving resources they might not have already known about or received. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. I want to go back to Jamie and ask her about the foundation, the not-for-profit that you and Daniel participate in and are founders of. Can you briefly tell us what you're currently doing?
Yes, Fight for Wellness is the organization that Daniel founded. He had the surgery in October of 2019, and upon recovery, he was quickly put right into COVID quarantine because of his condition and risk. So he did he wanted to do something very impactful for the community and share his story. So he started Fight for Wellness, created the Fight for Wellness website, and started right off the bat with doing a town hall with his high school, inviting all of the kids, the counselors, coaches, to share his story. He created a brief video, which I would be glad to share with any of the participants. I can do that through Sue and share with you. It's pretty impactful, some of the challenges that he personally went through physically, mentally, and he is sharing his story throughout the world. He has been featured in a documentary called Nicotine, a Drug with a Future, which was produced by a Berlin film company. He is currently out east working with the producers of a film called Taking a Toke, which also features his story. And there's a trailer that you can log into if you go to Taking a Toke and look at how he's being featured there. He has been featured and worked with Time Magazine, as well as several other organizations, podcasts. A book was written called The Big Vape that featured his story, and now it's being turned into a Netflix series of which he's going to be focused on telling his story. He has talked to people, students, one-on-one. He continues to get his message out when he's feeling good. The reality is Daniel's life is not ever going to go back to the way it was. And I think that's what I really want to quickly just share. The Fight for Wellness story is helping people understand that even though Daniel was fortunate enough to get the gift of life, his life is forever changed. His path has changed. He is in college. He's got full ride scholarship to Wayne State University for a business degree, but his lifespan is shortened, and it's expected 7 to 10 years. And so what does Daniel want to do with his life? He wants to make sure that he gets out the message to young kids about a decision that you make can impact your future. And so many of the things that he is doing is geared toward prevention. He sees it's very hard to get kids to quit. His friends haven't been able to quit.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate that. Give him our best, please. We'll be thinking of him. And Kelly, I have a question for you in terms of secondhand smoke, or Christine and Vicky. Secondhand smoke, let's talk a little bit about that. We talked about direct. I'm smoking directly, but yet maybe there's someone in my family that smokes.
So from my experience and research, so secondhand smoke can actually cause diseases in people such as lung cancer, heart disease, SIDS in infants. If moms are smoking around their babies, there is a higher risk of SIDS, stroke, asthma attacks, ear infection, frequent ear infections in their children, respiratory infections in children. If a mom's smoking while she's pregnant, lower birth weight, and premature babies, and then it also stunts the growth and health of children's lungs if they're exposed to secondhand smoke.
Great, thank you very much. I appreciate that. What is the greatest challenge do you feel that our county has moving forward on this topic to reduce smoking and introducing prevention and smoking cessation? That's open to the panel. What can our county do to move forward on this and make a change, move the dial in the right direction on this one?
Well, I think one of the things certainly is education is key, because when I speak with students, there is so much misconceptions out there about vaping. For example, I was talking to a 10th grade student last week, and I was explaining how through vaping, she can get more tobacco than through a cigarette. And she was just appalled to find that out. And along with our students, it's just a matter of educating the adults in our community too. Again, when I have conversations with adults, I find there are a lot of misconceptions with adults. And I guess I put a lot of fault with these vaping companies, because they're telling people and they're advertising, you know, if you need to stop smoking, try vaping. It's a safe alternative. And, you know, the research has shown us that is absolutely false.
Thank you, Christine. Vicky, do you have something to add? Please.
Yeah, I wanted to say that social media, when I talk to my students about vaping and all of that, they don't necessarily believe me, because they've seen it on social media someplace that those really aren't the facts. And so trying to reiterate that they need to go to viable, good resources that is research-based, not somebody's comment on Facebook, that's what they really need to do. So trying to get social media under control is going to be a huge challenge for this age group.
Thank you very much. I could talk forever on this, but I know my time is up, I believe, right, Melina? Thank you to our panel for joining us today. We do appreciate and applaud you for your work on this very important issue. And to our audience, make sure that you are asking some questions of the panelists via chat, and they'll be answering those at the conclusion of the dialogue. Thank you, and I turn the conversation over to Melina, our lovely host.
Thank you so much, Mary, and also to our wonderful panelists. That discussion was so impactful, and I appreciate you all being here. So now I would like to introduce our final speaker today, Shirley Du Bois, who will be speaking to us about local comprehensive air ordinances. Shirley received her bachelor and master's degree in Park and Recreation Administration and Health from Eastern Kentucky University. She currently resides in Kokomo, Indiana, and was the tobacco-free coordinator in Howard County for 10 years. In 2017, she was a leader on the Howard County, Kokomo County City Council, adopting a comprehensive smoke-free policy for Howard County in all public places, including outdoor events. She is now the North Region Program Director for the Indiana Department of Health and their Tobacco Prevention and Cessation Commission, and in total has been working in tobacco control for over 14 years. Please join me in welcoming Shirley by displaying a clap reaction emoji.
Thank you, Melina. And thank you for the claps. I just listening to everybody's the stories and the panelists. I'm excited for your county. And again, what Mary and Melina said, what works? We know tobacco-free policies work. I think Danielle said there are some policies that we can change at a local level and some we can't. And working as a comprehensive smoke-free policy locally, you can do. So I'm just going to touch a little bit. I think Kelly mentioned the disadvantages from secondhand smoke, being around secondhand smoke. So that is one of the benefits of having a smoke-free policy in your county, is it protects all people. We like to say all people because a smoke-free policy in an indoor public facility, that includes the visitors, that includes all the employees, the staff. So when we say all, protecting all, that's what we mean. Again, she touched on the outside, and TPC's role model is to work a smoke-free policy within, meaning your public facilities, including your bars, including your membership clubs. That's what that comprehensive means. And then working to the outside. We were fortunate, again, in Howard County. So Kokomo is the biggest city in Howard County, and they already had a smoke-free policy on the books, but it wasn't comprehensive. So we as a coalition led the charge, but of course the elected officials passed and adopted the policy. But we led the charge, again, with that education, with that raising awareness in the community, building those relationships with the elected officials. We were able to get a comprehensive policy passed for the city. And then again, Howard County, the elected commissioners adopted a countywide. So we have both. So the Kokomo and the Howard County policy was passed in March of 2017. Now we know the state in 2012 passed a policy, but of course it wasn't comprehensive. But they did allow local communities to make it stronger. And that's where our effort was. We started in 2012, believe it or not. It doesn't just take a few days. It took us years. We started as soon as 2012, the state law was implemented, then we started working on it. In 2014, we brought it to the agenda of the elected officials, and it did not pass. We were devastated. We like to say we lost that battle, but we did not lose the war. And so we kept on and was persistent, again, educating the community, getting more support from the community, that this is the right thing to do. It wasn't about rights, it was more about health issues. And that's what we've already discussed. So we went back in 2017, and in March, we passed the policy. Again, we were devastated in 2014, but it actually was a blessing because we didn't include e-cigarettes in the 2014 policy. So now everything's included, including the marijuana. So we have a very, very comprehensive and very, very proud of the smoke-free policy in Howard County. I just want to touch on not only the education and the awareness, but building your coalition. That is the advice that I'm going to give to this panel. The more support that you have from the community, the better for the elected officials. They love when they can see at a city county hearing that they have more support than the opposing. So I just find that very important to build those relationships with the elected officials. And of course, we talked about the benefits. The benefit, not only for Howard County's the inside, we got the outside parks and the concert venues. So that makes that whole environment safer for children. Nobody ever thinks about, in the past, we'd have these concerts outside that were packed and people standing one another, right next to one another. And nobody was thinking about that cigarette. If it wasn't up to the mouth, where is it? Okay, it's down at a child's level. So we just were so excited that we got that all combined into the one policy. Sometimes it looks different. Again, TPC, the role model is to get the public inside and work on the outside, but it's a bonus if you can get it all packaged together. So that was a plus. Again, the benefits, we know more people quit and less people, it's not so much a social norm if you don't see it as much, including the vaping. So again, that's why it was so important to include that, the e-cigarettes into that. So I know that I just rambled and talked really quick, but I think it's really important, and I am going to yield back my time if Danielle would like to add to this conversation. Of course, she works with the state, but also works with local coordinators to help with the smoke-free policy. So Danielle, if you'd like to add, I'm going to yield my time because I think you have some wisdom as well.
Yes, the important part about local comprehensive smoke-free ordinances is that the more we can get at the local level, the better our chances will be to go back to strengthen the statewide smoke-free ordinance to include bars and casinos. What this is called preemption. So fortunately, preemption was not added to the statewide language. And what preemption is when a higher form of government preempts or stops a lower form of government from strengthening laws. And you see that a lot with tobacco companies. They work at the statewide and at the federal level to preempt lower forms of government from controlling them. So that's why you can't pass local tobacco taxes. You can't address the marketing and the display and the sale of tobacco at the local level. They've worked effectively in stopping communities from passing smoke-free ordinances because of preemption. And thank goodness we did not have this in the statewide smoke-free law. And that's what is leading to local efforts to address tobacco, to address smoke-free air. So LaPorte County has a huge opportunity if they go and pass a local smoke-free ordinance that could be stronger than the statewide law. Part of the problem is the casino that's located in LaPorte County. So
I truly hate to interrupt. We're less than 3 minutes left.
Sure, that's one of the things I wanted to add. LaPorte County has a huge opportunity, but one of the biggest problems is blue chip casino. And so it will take a huge fight. It can be done if people are interested and get involved and you get people behind you that want the county to go smoke free. You can do it. I'll add that. I'm yielding a minute back, I believe.
Thank you so much, Shirley and Danielle. We will
Pleasure.
now shift gears. Is someone speaking? Okay, we will now shift gears to our panel, our Q&A from the audience. All right, so actually I'll start with Shirley since you just spoke. For the people who were in your core coalition for passing the smoke-free air policy, what were their backgrounds? Like, what did your members, what backgrounds did they come from? So we kind of get a good idea of who should we bring to the table.
So we have, again, a coalition of many partners, over 45 partners. And then we have that core coalition, which consists of about 10 partners. And then out of that 10, we have what we called a policy committee of 3. So again, we can talk, more about that, and I'm more than happy to come back and to your coalition meeting and go into detail. But the core coalition, we had a retired union worker. We had, and they still do, they had a minority coalition director. We had representation from the school system. We had hospital representation, YMCA, nonprofit organizations, And so we tried to be very, have a variety from the community of our leaders, and a diversity. We had a member from Pride, which is our LGBT community. So again, the diversity and the variety is what made it so powerful, again, from all organizations that could speak up and have a voice. We had a veteran as part of our core as well.
Thank you, Shirley. Also on your presentation, Shirley, I see the question to clarify why it took 2 tries to pass the ordinance.
Yes. So in 2014, we call them champions. Those are the elected officials that are for us and gonna support us and fight for us. Well, we had, other than the champion, we had, again, council people that supported us. And one of our supporters at the very last minute of a second hearing, I'm being honest, he turned on us. So that's why it didn't pass in 2014. So of course, we're not going to bring it to the agenda unless you have the support. We thought we had the support. Everything was going well for months until that second hearing. And then again, one of our council members that was a strong supporter turned at the last minute. And so then we had to regroup and go back in 2017. And I must say, for our core youth, we have youth to represent us as well.
Amazing. All right, so another question I see here is, how early should we start educating our youth on tobacco issues? I will direct this question to Christine. Let's start with Christine. How early do you think we should start educating our youth on these issues to kind of try to prevent initiation?
It's the earlier the better. I'm talking elementary school. One of the things that they do in our elementary schools is they play up Red Ribbon Week, which is the end of October. And that's very important, but our students need constant reminders. Last year, I worked with 5th and 6th grade, and I did a presentation on vaping, and we went several weeks without students having a vaping violation, but then after a bit, there were violations again. So it's not just a one-year red ribbon thing, it has to be constantly reinforced.
Thank you, Christine. Let's see, our next question. Of the young people who have quit, what have they said was the biggest motivating factor for them for quitting? And what approach allowed them to be successful in quitting? Does any of our panelists want to answer that?
Sure, I can do that because I've had several students that have actually quit. The biggest motivator for them is they became sick. And so when they could not breathe or even walk down the hall, and I reiterated to them that the smoking was actually affecting that and making it worse, then they decided that it was time to quit. And so we used several methods. For some of them, it was just cold turkey because they couldn't smoke because it was so short of breath that they just couldn't even do it. With others, we used the gum, and I've explained how to do that with the quit line, and then also with constant follow-up with them and giving them lots of encouragement. Some of them I had to prescribe the patch, even though supposedly it's not FDA approved for adolescents. We do know that it absolutely works, but usually the gum is enough for them, and then just the support, and then also their peer support. When they see how sick that their friends have been, or they've seen a parent get really, really sick, that's actually the biggest motivator.
Thank you, Vicki. All right, let's see. We have 10 minutes left. I see a question here regarding casinos. So French Lick Casino and Sovereign Four Winds Casino have already implemented 100% smoke-free policies as part of their reopening. The new Hard Rock in Terre Haute also announced that it will be smoke-free. Are there any lessons learned? Are there any lessons learned from those casinos that could help us with Blue Chip Casino? As we know, Blue Chip Casino is here in Michigan City. What I do know about that is for Blue Chip, during the COVID pandemic, they did go smoke-free briefly. But I want to say around May or June, they reinstated the smoking. So smoking was then allowed. And unfortunately, that's the case. We sent a letter to them early on in the pandemic to kind of thank them for going smoke-free and kind of telling them the benefits of continuing to stay smoke-free. A lot of casinos have hesitancy for going fully smoke-free because they think they will lose revenue. But a lot of research is showing that there's not a lot of revenue lost from that at all. Shirley, I want to direct this to you as well. I know you're on the Smoke-Free Casinos Task Force as well. Can you say anything else to casinos and going smoke-free?
Yeah, so you covered it quite well with the data and the studies that businesses are not going out of business due to a smoke-free policy. So you are correct with that. And again, Danielle can chime in as well. There are some Lake counties are not smoke-free. They're working on a campaign as we speak, just like LaPorte. So to answer your question, what can be done is, again, that raising awareness, education, relationships, and gain some power from those other casinos going smoke-free.
Yes.
So Danielle?
The one thing to keep in mind, the reason that the Terre Haute casino went smoke-free, it wasn't by choice. It was because the casino was included in the smoke-free law. Terre Haute did not have a casino at the time they passed a comprehensive ordinance. However, their ordinance language covered the casino. In your case, in LaPorte County, the casino was already in operation. So this is why when you do decide to engage in a campaign, when you organize, everyone has to agree. Our bottom line is to get casinos and bars. You have to start at a comprehensive position. If you start less than that, you're not going to get it. So everyone must be aware, and you must tell your champions, elected officials, and everyone need to understand your goal is to get the casino to go smoke-free. When you allow casinos to make the policy choice themselves, like you just saw, they went smoke-free for COVID, but now they're allowing smoking again. This is why we need it included in the ordinance. So make sure that's your end goal, to get the casino to go smoke-free in terms of the local smoke-free ordinance.
Yeah, and Melina, I will add in Howard County, again, that was the thing that everybody kept bringing up. We're going to lose business. Businesses are going to shut down. So we, again, concentrated on that, educated them with the studies that we had, with all the data. And I am happy to say that as soon as the was adopted in March, 2 new bar businesses opened smoke-free. So it just was the opposite in Howard County. So it was a benefit.
Thank you so much. All right, so I've received some information that Jamie Turnbull has a great short video to share with us. So I am going to give the mic to her and give her an opportunity to share her screen and show us this video to kind of end the event. So
All right, and
Jamie,
I'm gonna hope technology works here, okay? So. Do I need to click on the dot? And do I have the,
pause that for a moment, Jamie.
yeah,
So you're gonna go to your taskbar. You'll see screen share is one of the icons. It should be next to the
Yep.
chat. So click screen share and then select the window that you want to show. So select the video from that screen share option.
so screen share option.
Mhm.
And what would be the screen share option? Do I just go to screen share or screen share option?
Oh no, screen share. It should say screen share. Oh, maybe let me stop my screen here. So go to screen share and then select the window that you want to show us that has the video.
See, can you see my screen here? Do you see my screen?
No, not yet.
Okay.
If
And
you
I
have
did, I sent it to Sue also.
if you can send it to me in the chat, if there's like a link, I can try to share it on my end.
Perfect. I'm so sorry. Thank you for your patience, and Daniel will thank you for your patience as well.
No problem.
Okay, so if I go to the chat. And see if we get luck here.
I don't
Thank
see
you.
a website to click on.
It's just a movie. It's a direct message. Did you see that?
It's not clickable for me.
Oh.
I'm so sorry, you guys. Since we only have
Okay.
3 minutes left, we might not be able to share this, but I will make sure I will
Maybe
send
you
all
share it
these.
with everybody.
I will share this with everybody.
Thank you. And I apologize for Daniel not joining us. Thank you for your understanding. His
No
health outcome
problem.
first.
No problem at all. In closing, I'd like to end with a few remarks. The recording, answers to any unanswered questions, and additional information with Daniel's video and other resources will be emailed to all participants after the event. I hope you all learned something new today and leave here with a stronger awareness on these important issues, ideas for how we can take part in addressing them, and a newfound passion for tobacco control, as well as support for a healthier and smoke-free LaPorte County. So thank you all so much for your time, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you. This was wonderful.